Mhm.
Ready to go.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Ray and J Odyssey. I am one of your hosts, Ray. Across from me, we have,
Coach.
as you can see on the screen, we're back to God of War. I'll be behind the controls tonight, and we have a topic of discussion. So, our topic for tonight is the war with identity.
Yeah.
Whatever you call it. So, and that's kind of a tough one. I feel like we've all had a war like that of identifying ourselves in one way or another. All right, this one. Okay. That's not. Huh. It's interesting.
What did happen?
Because last time it was like a slow release, and it's not. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, remember how last time I was having the hardest time making it? Ah, yeah.
Maybe get past it before you start speaking.
Listen!
Like
Yeah.
that. Rather than have it interrupt you by the failure.
That seems to be an ongoing theme with this game, along with our discussions.
Oh, wow.
So, identity. Uh, what do you think has been like your biggest struggle with that, Coach?
Well, I guess kind of. Coach is kind of a little bit of a backstory for that,
Uh,
right? Like I could have just given myself a regular name,
yeah, yeah.
but this time I went with a more of a title than anything else. But that's not to be like, oh, I'm unapproachable, or you have to like speak to me in a means of authority or things like that. That is just my expectation of myself. So that therefore becomes like my identity more as a reminder of like what I'm supposed to portray myself as.
Hmm.
And from there, like I can still be who I want to be and not have anything else be affected by that because oh I'm supposed to act this way, I'm supposed to do this way. It's like everyone's got a different interpretation of what a coach is and what it should be, right? So but those but what they are, they earn that spot, right? So this is me trying to like, hey, let me earn this spot so that people feel comfortable calling me this.
Right.
So that's kind of where that stems from, right? Like my real name wasn't really even given to me by my own mother
Hmm.
or like my father or something. Like that was someone else's suggestion and it stuck.
Hmm. Okay.
So which if you know like our family,
Yeah.
it's like pretty par for the course.
Yeah.
uh, but then just like my upbringing,
Right.
and I've spoken about this before, but like not to like make it a matter of comparison, especially not for the month that we're in,
Uh,
where it's like you want to just talk about your own struggles. You want to talk about the things you've gone through. You want to talk about the things you've dealt with before. And that's not to ever feel like, oh, like, woe is me. So I should get more pity than this other person because of what I went through. It's not a competition.
Yeah.
But it is just a matter of like, okay, this is my story, and it's not a matter of like, oh, I'm putting two books up against each other for comparison as to like what I should listen to. No, like if I like stories, then I'm going to listen and I'm going to follow along and I'm going to respect it. So the story was, coming from essentially a single parent household and being an only child, and I wouldn't really say that I like struggled making friends. It was just that like the people, my options were not all that great.
Limited.
Yeah. So I made do with what I had as far as my proximity. I thought you had fall damage for a second. But what that becomes is like learned behavior. The things that other people essentially teach you,
Right.
whether that be directly or especially indirectly. So you kind of grow up thinking that there's supposed to be a measure of self worth. There's supposed to be that feeling that like you're here for something. And when you don't know what that is for the longest time, it can eat away at certain parts of you that would have been figured out had you had a little bit more of a completed home. And not, can't really blame anybody except my father. But knowing who he ended up being, like it's probably for the better. Where did he come from?
That was just out of nowhere.
Funny enough, that's what my father said to me when I was born.
Oh, jeez.
But it's just events like that where it's like, okay, someone can't really relate, but they can understand. Oh, you missed the last one?
Yeah.
So then that becomes a struggle to deal with. It's figuring out what the perspective of other people around you look like. And then it's a measurement of just being objective about who you actually are. Like how much of what they know is accurate. And if it isn't accurate, then are they going to keep just responding? Or is this the third one?
That should be the last one. Ooh.
And move it again.
And this time, I'm going to do this.
But yeah, there's certain things that will fly over your head as a kid growing up, but then there's things that will just absolutely stick to you.
Yeah.
And trauma will make the more difficult things stick to you.
Yeah.
You'll learn that faster than anything positive. So then it'll get to a point where you're growing up later and you don't really know how to react when you finally get something positive.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a good amount of people that struggle with that too. Where, because they didn't get a whole lot of compliments, they don't know how to take one.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the way that they've lived their life, it never felt genuine.
Yeah.
So, or I always usually felt like there was some ulterior motive behind it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, let me just butter you up real quick.
What do you want?
And then
what are you going for?
Let me get to the point.
Yeah.
Which means that like none of those words actually matter. So if you get used to, hearing that, then compliments can't feel sincere. So, like, if that resonates with anybody else listening, like, I feel you.
The more that we have these kind of conversations, the more I realize how much we have in common, and it is kind of scary.
I mean, kind of runs in the family.
Which is like, it just adds to it. Like, God, is this just a family curse? Like,
But no, I think it's just a generation thing.
yeah,
Because now I look at the way that, you know, how people were parented or how people weren't parented, and a lot of those patterns will still be there. So, like, something like that, you should have in common with a lot of people,
uh,
but that is just how it goes sometimes. And, people that are, kind of down to earth about this situation, they're going to be the ones that are going to recognize it rather than the folks that actually would have the means and resources to help you out with those things. And then they can't be found. Or, there's a price tag that's attached to their willingness to help. And that's also
Ah.
scary because then that never teaches you the right lesson. Because then that doesn't teach you a manner of self worth. That just teaches you the importance of money. And if you put money in the wrong hands, then it doesn't lead to anywhere good. It's like the money didn't really do anything wrong at that point. It's just like what that can get you. It can get you connections. It can get you a whole different set of networking, and it can get you to a path that you never would have had access to otherwise. And because people don't really see you, they just see your offer. They just see the number, the price tag that's attached to it. So there's a good amount of people that will have money and will essentially waste it. And then once they have nothing, then they'll go ahead and try to find themselves because they ended up learning the same hard lesson that none of us would have had a chance to know. But because they went through it, well, now we do. Not everybody has to be the bad example in order for us to realize that the example was bad. And yet, that's what we see. But back to our identity, like you'd want to hope that the help will come from the people that are nearby. You want to hope that
it comes from people that tell you they love you. The ones who say like, "Oh, you know, we're supposed to be there."
Yeah, well, not only that, but just the ones that know you, they're familiar with you, they're familiar with your day-to-day life.
Right.
Like it's not this idea, it's not just this vague memory of like, oh yeah, it's not just this impression. Like that's not what you want to have stick with you. You got everything.
I'm just glad those two switches.
Yeah, I find it weird. I like the kind of jumping puzzles that you get stuck on.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. I feel like that was just like that was an insult. that was an insult right there. That was salt in the wound. It's like, oh, we're not gonna, end your session here. No, you still get a chance. Oh, and you lost.
Oh man, what happened? We gave you the chance. We
Yeah.
bailed you out. But yeah, like when you don't feel as though like your immediate resources are there for you in a genuine aspect, like what do you think that does to a person's identity?
What does that do to a person's self-esteem? What does that do to them and their idea of reaching out for help?
They then become the next bad example of those that want to, think that money's going to help out their situation. And then they find a bunch of hollow relationships or have these conversations that never feel fulfilled. There's got to be something else that you can put there.
There's got to be a way for me to kind of hold it open.
Um, but yeah, and then you kind of go through your school life, and of course it's the whole rigmarole. It's like, yeah, you get bullied, but then you know, here's some things that other people would do is that they get so used to being bullied that they want to have a crack at it themselves
Yeah.
and then take it out on other people that didn't do anything. So then you're just adding to the problem rather than subtracting.
Mhm.
So while I wasn't that, I definitely saw that I had the tendency for that. And it kind of led me to have a fighting spirit that was like emotionally misguided. And then you learn lessons from other people about a sense of comparison. I mean, talk about the thief of joy, right? Because there's no one else that's going to be you other than you, but you will never know that because you're too busy looking at someone else.
Mhm.
I think we checked last time, and there's not really going to be anything that you can kind of carry with you.
There's got to be something.
And it better be from this backhand because you ain't jumping anything and carrying with you at the same time. But yeah, this path is looking pretty bleak. Okay.
Is there something I can put on this little lift? Is there like a boulder I can just carry up here and I just kind of push the rest of the way? Oh, okay. So I might literally have to just run this then. Okay. Ah. But yeah, as far as like identity goes for me, like there are so many different ways that I struggle with that. Um,
Don't tell me to reset you.
better not have.
Okay, it is.
I do not. But there's so many different ways I
Now-
struggle with identity.
Now,
And of course, it started, when I was younger, uh, growing up with a disability and dealing with bullying, feeling like I never fit in. And then once I got past that, okay, I'm confident. I know who I am. I have my interests in discovering things as a teenager. Just like anyone else, and finding out new things, new hobbies, pushing out something old, rediscovering stuff.
Yeah, I feel you, Kratos. I mean, there was moments of hesitation that you had.
Yeah,
That.
just trying to see if I can oh,
Yeah, because like you have an evade,
mhm,
so just kind of do that like on your path there.
yeah,
Because I think you were relying on just kind
the
of
time.
well briskly walking to your destination.
But yeah, I kind of went through that. But then, more recently, um, I kind of went through that again, and it's just even more so of like feeling like I don't fit um, in multiple
Now,
ways
now,
because
now.
um, you reach a certain point where um, you have to start looking for work. You have to find your footing that way as an adult, and
Now,
I'm kind of limited on what I can do, not just because of
I didn't say now yet.
uh, not just because of my disability, but also um, my experience in different fields of work, and it's frustrating, and
Now,
not
now,
because
now.
I doubt my own ability, but roll. I have to,
There you go.
yeah, I have to prove myself over and over, and it feels like it's never enough.
Yeah.
And sure, you kind of deal with that in the work field as it is, but to me, it feels like 100 times worse because people tend to question my ability to speak, to handle a simple task because I use a wheelchair. It's like, I don't know, the job requires him to kind of sit at a desk and type. Can he do that?
The note reads, tried to stop me. She said the gods are fools, that I was a fool. She may be right, but they came to me. They believed in me. She had to be stopped. But now they are gone. My entire family. I cannot go on.
Well, okay.
And what do you have to say for us? Oh.
Let's see if it fits in there.
No, it was actually the other guy. But no, I was kind of there to witness a good amount of, you know, you always having to prove yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so frustrating. It's so annoying.
And like, how many years was that?
I don't even know.
I'm gonna say like 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's at least maybe.
Yeah.
So like, this isn't just a few days
Yeah.
that we're talking about.
This isn't a month. This isn't uh, a year. This is a couple of years.
This is an unfortunately long stretch of time.
Mhm. as a growing up, I had different struggles. There's things that I had to do as a kid to prove myself, and I felt like I did that over and over. And then as a teenager, you get to the point where like, oh, what does it mean to be a man? And I dealt with that. A lot of it, I feel, was due to uh, my own father not really being in the picture, and so it's like, what does it mean to be responsible? What does it mean to take care of your family, the ones you love? I had to figure that out.
Yeah, and I'm finding that there's a lot of people that um, they feel as though they've been taught to be a man, but they haven't been taught to be an actual provider
Mhm.
because those are not really synonymous historically.
Right.
I mean, they really should be. But like everybody should be able to provide at least for themselves,
Mhm.
right? Like one thing that kind of gets me is the idea of like women have to be the one to cook and clean.
Right.
I'm like, okay, what if you're just a guy by yourself?
You're gonna starve.
You're just gonna
You're not.
starve and live dirty?
You're right.
Like, no, like you also have to learn that stuff.
Right.
So, like, don't treat those things as like feminine
Yeah.
just because, like, oh, well, that's what the woman's supposed to do. Like,
No.
no, that's what a human is supposed to do to
That's
care
what
for
an
themselves.
adult needs to learn.
Like, that's the one thing that's like it's always bothered me. It was just this notion that like
The women belong in the kitchen. Like, shut up.
like you have to make your own food at some point too, dude.
Yeah.
And it's like you got to learn those skills,
Uh-huh.
and those skills will teach you something else. So like when I come from a family that's like predominantly uh, women,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, yeah, well, guess what they're gonna teach me? They're gonna teach me how to clean. Not really so much how to cook, surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
I learned that by being here.
Yeah.
I needed a man to teach me how to cook because all the women. But no, it's like, but their roles also had to change because they, for the longest time, had to be their own providers.
Yeah.
So they had to take on everything there too.
Yeah.
And it's like when you watch that example growing up, like, all right, that is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of hear about other people living their life, and it's like, oh, they don't do those things. Oh, they're not supposed to do those things. They're not expecting me to do those things. And like, you're walking into situations where that's absolutely needed, regardless of like it's a relationship or not.
You're right.
You just have to have those good habits,
Mm-hmm.
or just that self-awareness.
Uh-huh.
And that's not an identity. That's just keeping up with yourself and making sure that you're still in a good position to see the next day.
And I could go on about the sexist comments I've heard over the years. And it's like, I grew up with a mom. Like I said, my dad really wasn't a picture. I have 3 older sisters, an older brother. But, I'm more closer to my brother now than my sisters. But still, I learned a lot from them growing up. And one comment that a friend had made years ago, no longer friends with him, but he made this comment about, oh, wow.
What?
He made this comment, women aren't funny. And I'm like, my mom's one of the funniest people I know.
Same here.
I get my sense of humor from her. My dad thinks he's funny. He's just an a-hole. And I've learned that a lot of guys' sense of humor is, making fun of someone else's poor situation.
Yeah, it's degradation.
Yeah. And it's like, that's not funny. And you have to put someone else down for you to laugh, to feel better? No.
And I think, I think this also kind of goes back to education too, because you know, like you're gonna be growing up in environments, unless you're like homeschooled or something, and that's the case,
Yeah.
then we'll have another example with Jay actually.
Yeah.
But like you're gonna be surrounded by these types of people
Mm-hmm.
for a long portion of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you're choosing then to make like enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not a very good survival tactic. Like,
Right. But yeah, so that's just one aspect of, identity, where it's just a struggle. It's a war because you're influenced by all these people around you. You have examples, good and bad, and you're kind of left to kind of figure it out of like, what can I take from this? How do I apply this into my life? Sorry, I'm just kind of,
locked in.
yeah, trying not to die here. The annoying thing is like these conveyor belts go and those wheels hurt you.
Yeah, seeing that. Because it didn't feel like you really got attacked all that much by the actual enemies,
Yeah,
but you
it's
just get getting stuck by the wall,
it's just the environment.
which kind of adds to our analysis
Yeah,
because if you're not careful and you remain stuck in your ways about these things, then the trouble will hit you, and then you don't know how to back out of it.
yeah.
Who else is here?
Who else is left? There's a stupid bat, isn't there? Ah,
Ham still.
there we go. Oh, but that doesn't stop? Okay. That's fair. Anyways, as we're saying, as I'm nearly dead.
Yeah, just a lot of people are a product of their own environment. But now we're living in a world where you can kind of choose that environment for yourself now. And mentally, we haven't really caught up to that. And it's affecting so many people in various different ways where, they can hide behind certain categories and be like, oh, I am not crazy. I am just this. Or, like, I don't need help in this because I'm that.
Yeah.
Or, it's like,
Now I gotta make it out of here while pushing this box.
well, at least it's lowering. You don't have to go to the exact conveyor belt area with this thing. So, does this take damage? This box?
No.
Okay, thank goodness.
I was completely joking.
Oh.
Because this is like taking us right back to the entrance.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the game.
Yeah, I was making on that. But yeah, and it's funny that you said that about your name, that your mom didn't pick it. Like it was just a suggestion, as you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, my mom picked mine. But my father wanted to name me something different entirely.
After 1,000 years, Pandora's box was the last free of its comfort.
I kind of want to focus on this.
Far away in Athens, Ares knew Kratos had succeeded in his quest.
So, little Spartan, you've recovered Zeus's precious box, but you will not live long enough to see it opened. I will see to that. Goodbye, Spartan. You will rot in the depths of Hades for all eternity.
Game over.
As the life began to leave Kratos, his thoughts returned to that fateful night. Even in death, the memories, the visions will not fade.
So why is he called the Ghost of Sparta?
For how could he forget spilling the blood of his own family? A cruel trick orchestrated by the god of war.
My wife, my child, no, they were not in Sparta.
You are becoming all I'd hoped you'd be, Kratos. Now, with your wife and child dead, nothing will hold you back. You will become even stronger. You will become death itself.
But as the flames consumed the temple, Kratos realized his true enemy was the god who once saved his life. The same god who had now taken everything from him.
Ares!
From this night forward, the mark of your terrible deed will be visible to all. The ashes of your wife and child will remain fastened to your skin, never to be removed. And with that curse, all would know him for the beast he had become. His skin white with the ash of his dead family. The ghost of Sparta had been born. In the end,
Pretty dark, no?
in death, he had
Well, he's
failed.
pretty pale.
As the minions of Ares claimed Pandora's
Yeah.
box, Kratos' life faded, and his cursed soul was cast into the fires of Hades.
So, as I was saying,
And Kratos fell into the
my own name.
the river Styx beckoning below.
My father wanted to name me
Strong
something
enough
different,
to carry even the strongest
and
man
that is
to his eternal
he
destiny.
wanted to name me
But Kratos had no
after
intention of resting.
his father figure.
He intended to live, to return
And I
to
say that
Earth and
because
complete his quest.
This was a man who was in my father's life, guided him quite a lot.
There is a
And
test
then
for me.
us growing up as kids, he guided us as well.
Completed.
And my father wanted to give me his full name. But when I was born with a disability, my dad left us alone and said, no, you can name me. But I did get my middle name, same as my dad's father figure. So, and in a weird way, I like to at least carry that with me and think about the type of man he would want me to be. Because he never really expressed disappointment in me and my siblings. He was always there, helping us with whatever life choices we wanted to make. And he passed not too long ago. And I kind of wish he saw me now. You know, everything that I've done and that I am doing. I get a little disappointed that he didn't see that.
Yeah. I've got that kind of in common too.
Mhm.
Because in our Batman session, I was bringing up my cousin.
Yeah.
And it's like there was a big period of time that we didn't get to see for each other. That's gonna suck so much. Just being the person that like got kicked off. And then like as he's falling, he just sees you not make the jump. Beat it! I'm worth more than you. Oh crap!
What you were saying?
But yeah, like my cousin at the time, like he was in a way like a saving grace for me. And then he never really got to see like who he ended up saving. So
Yeah.
the other day, actually, when we were hanging out as a group over here, like I kind of revealed to them that like I only have one picture in my room. Everything else is like posters, collectibles, etc. But like I only have one photo, and it's a young photo of me and him together. And I think eventually I'd want that to change to where I'd have more photos of other people.
Yeah.
But as it stands, I'm like, if I have that person still alive and in my life, then I want to cherish that first before I need to resort to a photo.
Right. Another thing about my grandfather too is we spent every weekend, almost every weekend, going out to breakfast with him. And I always remember my dad getting on our case about school, about this or that, and there he was, my grandfather defending us and like sticking up for us, like okay, give them some slack, give them some guidance and help them to, make better decisions and, just the help, And I think of those fondly, and yet when his funeral didn't even do that. When his funeral came, none of us got to speak. But you know who did? All these different people who I had never heard of before, who claim he meant so much to them, that they cared about him and he did this and that for them. And it's like, okay, I believe that he helped you out because that's the kind of man he was. But where were you when he needed that help, that support? Because we were around. We spent time with him nearly every weekend.
Yeah, and I think I talked about this too because like I couldn't go to my cousin's funeral for a similar reason. I was like I just knew that there would be a bunch of hypocrites there that never saw the person; they only saw the impression. I'm like, no, I knew that dude, and it would just insult me too much to hear half-hearted speeches just because they got their opportunity to talk because they were old enough to do it.
So Yeah. Again, it's weird how we have very similar experiences. Oh my god. I can't change the camera view. Can't make that jump right there?
No. Given the platforming you've already shown,
Oh my. What was that?
it's what I was about to say. I'm like, no, man, I've seen you miss the short jump. You think you're going to make that long jump out of nowhere? Like, you're struggling to balance on this Slim Jim thing. I don't know what it is that we're walking on.
A rod of flesh and blades.
Yeah, it's just a Slim Jim. Without the blades.
Why can you not change the camera angle? So, with identity, what was a moment for you that kind of felt like, okay, this is who I am, and more solid in that?
I don't know if I have a singular like aha moment.
Ah,
I think it's just a gradual process.
yeah.
I think what I want to do first is ask this question, like, when did your concept of an identity begin for you?
A really early age. Probably like 7. This is not slowing down, is it?
No.
If it does not start me right there, okay.
So you said 7, huh?
Yeah. And I think it's because that's when I started to notice I was different and ask those questions, especially my parents. Like, why am I different? Why am I this way? What do I do about this? You know, and maybe someone can start that young, trying to figure out their identity. But to me, it felt like I had no choice. I had to start off with that. I was kind of forced into this at an early age because of my environment, because of my situation.
Okay, so when you say very early, when do you think is the appropriate age to feel that way?
I would say maybe like 11, 12. Just because, that's when you're getting to the preteen years. That's when you're, starting to notice differences right there. You start to get new feelings of things, uh, and your interests change from more innocence to uh, wow. You shift from like, anyone can be my friend, and we can all play together. And it's like, no, I don't like them. because they're different.
Jeez.
You know what I mean?
So you kind of develop a set of standards.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you don't really have an identity, then you don't really have like a means to block people out.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna say like my process probably didn't start until around 12,
Uh-huh.
but it probably didn't finish until I was about 14.
I mean, that makes sense.
Because then I just started experiencing just a little bit more consistencies with my thinking.
Uh,
And I'm like, yeah, I still had a lot of passions and interests and things, you know, growing up. Ooh. All right. But I mean, having an interest is not having an identity.
no.
Having a passion for things, like no matter how many that you build upon,
Yeah.
it's not who you are.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. It starts because you start to take interest in music and games, shows, and you've heard or seen the meme like, oh, I'm about to make this my entire identity, and people do that. That's not really mature. That's not real. But they latch onto things.
Yeah, because then it just becomes a matter of like, all right, if that got taken away,
What's
who are
left?
you then?
Yeah. And I feel like that's just part of growing up. You realize that at a certain point. That there's more to you, there's more to your life than just that. That this thing that you suddenly hyper fixate on.
Right.
But that's why I say I think it starts at like 12 because that's when you start to get those little interests, those hobbies. Come on.
But the crazy thing is that when you're at those stages of life, people want to rush that.
Yeah.
So while I felt like, okay, if it's appropriate for me to kind of have that thought process or that realization, if you will, at that age, like what is that going to do for the part of me that still has the ability to compare and kind of see that like, oh, I think people figured themselves out way longer, like way before I did. So then it could feel like a matter of, did I really figure myself out, or did I figure out who I was to everyone else?
Yeah.
And so if that changes, like if your surroundings change, do you change?
Yeah. Right.
And so for then, like I didn't feel as if I was really stable about that until 14. But I think other people could have figured that out at a sooner age, just based on like who's with them at the time they can figure that out versus feeling like you have to catch up to everybody because not only were you not supposed to go through all these things, but in my case I'm like I wasn't even sure if I was supposed to be here at all. So I think that was kind of like the last hurdle. And if you got a good standard of like proximity and location and all these different things like at your advantage that you don't have control over, then yeah, you can figure that stuff out a lot faster. Or you can just choose not to and let the life that fell upon you consume you.
Yeah.
And not learn any lessons to kind of develop. But for me, it was just like figuring out, like, okay, but do I deserve this? Because I could just, say yes to these things like everybody else could. And then it's just a matter of living it, and really meaning that it's like, okay, if I have worth, then surely I can see it within myself. And if I can see it within myself, then surely others around me can feel that I have it. And if others feel that I have it, then have I solved it?
So I'm just really focused right now.
I get it. I'm focused too.
This is tricky
Ooh, that's faster.
because you almost have to go at an angle because that's where you catch the gaps. Climb back
There you
down.
go. You got it. You got it. You got it.
Ah. Yeah, it's. Are you going to let others tell you who you are, or are you going to show them who you are? In the end. And I think that's what had frustrated me with my work in the disabled community, because I wanted to help others who were like me, and I wanted to break them out of their shell. I wanted them to find that identity, but they've already let others tell them who they are, what they can do, what they can't
Wait, can you jump like that, like throughout?
do. I can, but that's a risk.
Do it now.
See why it's a risk?
Well, I wanted to know that it was possible.
Yeah.
Because I thought that you were just jumping at the very end.
Yeah.
Because it was only available to you then.
No.
Jump up.
Yeah, well, I got this. I got this. And
What? Okay, so then here's the follow-up question.
Okay.
How do you know when you kind of meet someone that has yet to find their identity?
When getting to know them and paying attention to what they talk about.
Because I think that people can put on an act.
That's the way I want to jump. At least it's not a lot of health that goes away.
Surprisingly not.
Yeah. Yeah, they want to torture you with this.
Oh yeah, it's a Danganronpa execution.
You were saying?
But more like people can put on an act,
Mm-hmm.
and there's the fake it till you make it kind of quote.
Right.
So if you see someone that really doesn't have an identity but is trying to act as if they do, like, what could that look like?
It's a really interesting question, and I do want to answer it and go into detail. But my God, man, I gotta focus.
Don't blame me.
It's like,
Man, just the foot is all it needs.
it's the ankle, the Achilles heel. Ah! Ah! My head.
The feet. Everything else. Ooh. Yeah, I this one just rotates too fast for you to really consider the jumping.
You need to question my methods. Ah!
Well, I don't think the other one was spinning this fast.
No.
So it made it more doable. But now, like, because you were able to do it in the first one, then they gave you this one that's just slightly faster, and it still gives you that sense that, like, oh, I can still do this and pull this up, and then no, it's like
Yeah.
you can't.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like our sense of identity. Like once it gets poked and prodded at,
Yeah.
you realize you can't hold up.
Mhm.
It eventually gets revealed,
Mhm.
and it hurts.
Yeah.
It feels like you've fallen off of something that's you've artificially built for yourself. But there are ways to. Why would you do that? There are ways to prevent you from really sinking down into the self uh, loathing state, because that's really what it'll eventually lead to.
Mhm.
And maybe not even eventually. Maybe that instantly leads someone to that.
Maybe they're already there. And that's why they put on this facade and try to fake it, because they don't like who they are.
Yeah, because maybe you find that instead. Like maybe instead of finding someone that doesn't really have one to show for themselves and have just faked it, maybe they just like, ooh,
There was no winning that. Yep. There's no what?
well, essentially maybe there's no winning with what they found out that they are.
Yeah.
Because then I think about other people that have like very unique struggles. I think of borderline personality disorder.
Yeah.
Or I think it's been given another name since, but maybe like
Depression, anxiety.
but I think like specifically this feeling that there's kind of someone else trapped within you.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you really get that from depression. I don't really think that you get that from anxiety in the same manner,
Yeah.
or that it leads to the same extremes.
Bipolar.
Yeah, there's that one too. But sometimes that's a large fluctuation of like the things that they can be. And like when you have when you have your identity figured out to its basic form, you then can figure out like your ceiling and floor of it,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah. Ah!
And well, you just hit the floor. But that is that's the thing with bipolar is that like to them it's the roller coaster of emotions. It's still kind of them and their capabilities, but it's like they're either reaching the ceiling all the time or they're reaching the floor all the time.
There's no middle.
Right. So sometimes they'll get to see like the better parts of what they can be, and then other times like their floor takes over. And it's like I can't really say that that's someone else because that's still you. That's still like your like what that version of you is capable of. But I think others need to realize like forgiveness goes a long way. And giving people the ability to figure that out for themselves, or at least, kind of giving them a judgment free area so that this doesn't lead to a bunch of other disappointments. I kind of feel like trying this.
You want? I'll probably die in a second, so I'll give you a chance. Yep. There you go.
I need to take a look. Uh, okay. So was there something else you were going to add? Or with that question? Nice.
Could you ask the question again?
Um, because like
Yeah, I don't think you paid attention to how much of my health was left.
uh,
Jeez, how far does this set you back?
just right here.
Okay.
Okay. I think my question was like, if you were coming across somebody that they kind of hadn't revealed their identity just yet, or they haven't figured that out, like, what does that look like on your end? And what are some things that you could do to gently lead them down that path where they can discover that for themselves?
And it's something I do with my conversations with people. And I think that's where people tend to get frustrated. Whereas, like, uh, I'm trying to take an interest in someone and, talk to them and find out, like, oh, they have this favorite movie, you know? And so, like, I start asking them more about it. Oh, what do you love about it? Who's the star? And, what year did it come out? Oh man, is there another genre, or another movie like that that's in that same genre that you really like, or just kind of get them to go deeper into it. Because I know a lot of people don't get a chance to express the things they love, and sometimes you kind of expose you like, oh, they just say that they like this because they've heard other people say the same thing. It's pop culture.
Oh, it's by the toe.
Uh-huh. And so we asked them those further questions, give them a chance to open up about this, and like it doesn't go further. They don't have anything to say. It's like, oh, I kind of exposed you here.
It's like you don't mean to.
Yeah, you don't mean to, but it just kind of happens that way. And I think so many are used to others just sticking to surface level
Bro,
things. They don't
if I
bother.
had hair, I would have cut it off. That's how
Uh-huh.
that felt.
They don't bother to go further into that music, that show, that movie, because they can just say, oh, I like this, and that carries conversation because the other person rambles on about it, or it leads to something else really easily. It it makes me think of that skit from Key and Peele,
Okay.
where they're sitting, I think, like at a bench outside somewhere, and uh, Keegan's character
Ugh.
says, I know I'm in the minority when I say this, but I feel like the Nolan Batman films are overrated. And then Jordan's character is like, okay, then that's all he says. And so then it leads to him saying, well, he goes, that's how I preface it by saying, I know I'm in the minority because I know not everyone agrees with this. And then Peele replies with awkward. He's like, no, not really. At least not until you said awkward. Now it's awkward because of what you said. And it boils into this frustration where he grabs me and he's just like, just share an opinion you have something. Just share an opinion. You keep trying to segue into the conversation, but you're not adding anything. Just share an opinion. And finally he breaks and he's like, I just agree with everyone and, what they like in pop culture. I was like, there's a lot of people who do that. And you'll find people who blend in like that, who blend in the conversation.
I thought I was past that.
Want me to go back to trying?
No, because you're kind of getting in the flow of the conversation.
Okay. But yeah, and it's like, that sounds like a crazy example, but that to me, that's what makes that funny because that's so true. And it's comedy, it's exaggerated because no one is going to be that frustrated and expose someone in that way. But at the same time, you might feel like, you want to do that sometimes because you can tell another person is just blending into the conversation.
They're taking the easy way out of it.
Mm-hmm. And so, I think that tends to happen with a lot of conversations I have where I'm just trying to show this interest in someone, give them a chance to really express themselves, and it's like, oh, there's not a whole lot there. And so to answer the other part of your question, I guess to help them, I would then kind of add my own part of like, oh, that reminds me of, I like this, and kind of show myself a bit, and kind of show like, yeah, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to try to think that I'm cool or whatever. It's like I have my interests. I think I'm a total nerd, a geek, whatever. So open up, share with me whatever it is that you like. Tell me who you are. in these little ways. Gotta get pace going.
Oh,
That was the opening.
It's just that middle area
Yep.
where the halves of the body don't know what direction they want to go into.
The direction changes as you change each section.
Yeah, and it's like
And the speed.
Yeah, 51% of the way, then it becomes a whole different like thing.
You're never gonna make those little spaces. They want you to think that you'll make those, but no.
There was something I learned from somebody else, who's another psychiatrist, and when he was like studying, he was essentially kind of put in a room with a bunch of other like-minded people, and their teacher kind of goes into the room, kind of sits in the center, and takes an apple. Just pulls out an apple. And everybody in the room was thinking like, oh, well, he's going to try to get us to talk. But, we'll show him, right?
Mhm.
Dang it. Too much influence. So they were going about it in the stubborn way.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, but he's supposed to be teaching his class, right? Like, why does he just have an apple?
Mhm.
And he goes and just starts eating the apple. Dang it, where's the opening?
Okay, so he's eating the apple.
Nobody thinks much of it.
Right.
It's like, all right, that's what you're supposed to do with an apple. Then he gets to the core and starts casually eating the core. That got the reaction. That got people to break from this whole tendency of like, no, I gotta hide what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And then they just did something so small but so outlandish at the same time.
Mhm.
And then they just kept doing it. They just kept eating the apple.
Mhm.
Got to the stem, and everyone was just like, no, 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 no. Everybody opened up.
Yeah.
And it didn't take much for that one person, but it's like everyone knew what was happening. They were inadvertently put in a position where they had no choice but to show who they were. And if you can find spaces like that,
What? You broke the game. Coach broke the game. You pulled a me.
take the controller. I found the worst way out. Blender.
Oh man. That just booted you down to the river.
Oh my god. So anyways, yeah, like you eat the apple, if you will. And what it is that it's not something that attributes to like who you are, but it's just revealing that visceral reaction to how people are in these certain settings. It triggers a response that you can't really get from the normal conversation because people are so guarded. So you remove that barrier, and I'm not saying that you have to be weird about it. But there are other just basic ways where it's like people will just reveal themselves. And another example I think of this is in detectives talking to criminals. There's all sorts of like psychology to be found there. And
Good cop, bad cop routine.
yeah, but with that, there's also just absolute silence. And figuring out like, okay, how do they react to that? And I think a lot of them will just naturally want to keep the conversation going. So then eventually they will just out themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's
some
like,
people just don't like silence, and I've always found that so funny, so interesting.
yeah, so then like, all right, well, what do you do? Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah.
Like, where does that identity take you?
Yeah.
Because you don't learn that from the identity that you know, buy. You earn that.
Because trust me, there is a difference between an awkward silence and just silence.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to know that difference.
I took that same route.
I had a friend. He was kind of an awkward guy, and I remember getting in the conversation with him about keeping the conversation going. And there was a moment because it was me, him, and someone else, and the other person was driving. They stopped somewhere. They had to go into like a gas station or something. I don't remember what, but it was just me and a friend in the car.
Okay.
And it was quiet. It's like it's fine. We're just waiting for this dude to get back. And my friend then starts talking, and like I could tell he's like forcing the conversation. And I said something to like, you okay, dude? And he's like, well, it was just quiet. I'm like, yeah, we're just waiting for so-and-so to get back. And he's like, that doesn't irk you? I'm like, no. Because it's going to pick up when we start driving again. Like, it's fine. Like, you don't always have to be saying something. Yeah.
But I think they are kind of doing that to you.
Yeah.
Without really realizing it.
Yeah.
Like they're doing something that triggered your response.
Yeah.
It triggered your reaction.
Yeah.
And even if it was just something simple to kind of break that silence, they wouldn't have really known that about you if they had just stayed there.
Yeah. But like, we'd known each other for a while at this point. This wasn't like a brand new friend.
But still, I've known a lot of other people around me, and yet I haven't been in that position with enough of them to really feel as though like, okay, who's the person that's going to just stay in it, and who's the person that's going to change it? Like that, I don't know, but I know a lot of the people that you would know. And I'm like, I don't know what category they fall into.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that changes too. Like some people I'm completely okay with, but then some people I feel like I have to be silent. Some people I feel like I have to keep the conversation going. So like that doesn't directly tell me who they are. That just tells me what I deal with it based off of my experiences. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh, did it!
Please tell me there's a safe spot.
Yes.
Oh my god.
We did it. We made it, Coach.
And my thing is like, Man, it's just a puzzle game. You're just gonna follow along, and then you'll find the pattern. And I had it in my hand. I'm like, oh god.
No, you understood.
I did Kratos so dirty.
But I had another similar experience. Maybe I talked about this on stream before, but as I was involved with my disabled community, there was a summer where we had a Zoom call, and all of us with the same disability a chance to just hang out on Zoom, talk, get to know each other. This had been going on for weeks during the summer. Many of them we saw forming friendships, following each other on social media. And I kind of critiqued the conversations because these were adults. These were people 20 and up. But the conversations were very much like those of young kids, like kindergartners, first graders. And they just kind of would really jump from topic to topic, very sudden and very simple. Okay. But I also noticed something else. Because I wanted to lead the conversation into self reflection, growth, things like that. Never got a chance to do that. Because none of them would really like grasp that concept. And so I thought, I know many of them tend to be awkward and struggle with conversing. So if I didn't start things off, what would happen? So I joined early, got the meeting got it started. One by one, each of them joined. Now, I had my camera off, but they knew I was there. And as they're joining one by one, all of them knew each other at this point. They followed each other on social media, called each other friends, close friends. But none of them said hi to each other. None of them said, hey, how's it going? How's your day? Simple as that. They just waited. Like they were waiting for permission to speak. And I found that so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank goodness you don't have to do all the fighting again.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do this again. But no! It's right there.
don't do this again, literally.
We go for left side now.
Oh my god, I thought you didn't make that one.
Okay. I'm gonna go back. I'm making it back. Ah. Okay. Okay.
Ooh.
Ah. So you were saying, you had something to add to that, Coach? Oh no.
Oh, thank goodness. Yeah, I remember you talking to me about that incident.
Mhm.
But I think that there was kind of other things added on top of that
Mhm.
that made that situation as bad as it was. And that's what, like, it's a culmination of having too many similar people
Mhm.
in the same environment.
Right.
Then nobody knows how to be different to each other.
Right.
So sometimes there's that measurement of maybe I don't need a one-on-one. Maybe I need a one-on-one in front of someone else. You know, and have that other person kind of maybe not really referee the situation, but just kind of have an outsider's perspective. And it's not really like a means of exclusion, but it's more of like figuring out everybody in that sense. Like if there's three people and yeah, like one person is specifically trying to talk to only one of them and not really include the other in the conversation, how's that other person going to handle that? You know, there's different answers for that. But I think that defines I think that's a measurement of your identity. And so like, okay, not a moment too soon, he says. But he he would probably force himself in to this conversation and just be like, hey, like, let's do it. Or they would be, more observant about things, or maybe they just close themselves off and be like, all right, well, I guess this conversation doesn't involve me. But then, you go into other settings, you find yourself among crowds of people that have your interest, and then you still can't find your way into those conversations. And then you're just falling back into that same kind of pattern. It's like, all right, well, nobody wants to talk to me. So it could be simple things like that, but they bring on its own force. And without you knowing it, could push somebody into this pattern that they probably wouldn't have ever really gone into if it was just the one incident. Then it's like, all right, that was a weird conversation. Like, I don't know why they just like didn't include me, or why I had to like force myself in. But if it starts becoming every conversation that's kind of around them, and then they don't know like how to include themselves, or the worst part is that they eventually figure that out and get met with no response.
Yeah.
So it's like you've done so much internal solving, only to find out that like they're not willing to give you the result. So you don't really feel as though like you've won, you've lost, like you don't know where your standing is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, it's those kind of response triggers. It's, figuring out like who eats the apple. But I think that psychiatrist, they were more in a position to eat that apple because they had the authority to. But if you just see someone on the street, like a random stranger, just eat an apple weird, you're just like, all right, that was weird.
Right.
It doesn't connect. That doesn't trigger that response. So that has to come from somebody that you have a measurement of respect for. And do they see that within you?
Yeah.
Because again, like then you just figured out who you are to them. And like, all right, at that point, do you really want to continue being with them?
Right.
But then the other side of that is, what if these are the only ones that I have to hold on to? And I can't really abandon them, because how do I abandon someone that never felt like they found me?
Right. Yeah.
I think you can upgrade stuff now.
Think so?
I mean, you better be able to with 50 something. Yeah, 54.
Just open these. I think I can definitely get the blades at maximum.
Give it a shot. Oh,
They're already at maximum. Okay. Okay, so let me do this because it's still level 1.
new abilities: Stronger Freeze Bring, Gordon Flash, Instant Freeze Single Enemy, Gordon Flash Air. Okay. Maybe it was this blade you were talking about. Blade power increase.
I have not used this once.
Well, better make it level 2 then. Maybe this will give you an incentive to use it. More powerful souls. Poseidon's Rage level 3. Alright, bigger damage area and more power.
That's our maximum. Nice. Okay, at least get this halfway. Almost halfway.
Kratos had traversed the desert of lost souls,
Um,
bested the ancient traps of Pandora's temple, and escaped Hades itself. There was but one task left.
any other questions?
Zeus, do you see
kinda
now what your son
bringing
can
up.
do? You cast your favor on Athena, but her city lies in ruins before me. And now, even Pandora's
I mean,
box
maybe
is
something
mine.
for each other.
Would you
Okay.
have me
And that
use
is-
it against Olympus itself?
What is it that
Kratos,
we
return
use to
the
identify
evil from
one
the
another?
underworld.
What do you see in me that, like,
Is this the
that's
best you
who
can
Ray
do,
is?
Father?
That's
You
yeah.
send a broken mortal to defeat me, the god of war.
Okay. Hmm.
After thousands of years, Pandora's box was finally opened. The power of the gods unleashed.
Holy crap! This is the final fight.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Just a mortal.
We're already at the end of this game?
It is weak.
Yes.
Dare you beg me to
Okay.
save your life? I am found that
I can do this in 30 minutes.
I didn't know that. But,
you have no idea what a true monster is.
okay then. Well, we're going to learn about each other in this final fight. What a fitting scene, I guess.
Oh.
Your final lesson is at hand. Prepare to join your family, Spartan.
It's not that I have a hard time answering.
Yeah.
I just have to be, like, cautious as to what I reveal.
Right.
So,
I'm just thinking more of attributes, you know.
well, one thing that easily comes to mind is resilience.
Okay. There.
Like, I think battle after battle, struggle after struggle, like, nothing has really stopped you from wanting to keep trying. And I think that, you know, because of what that's done for you, you know, I've kind of seen that like you want to take on the responsibility of other people's resiliency for them.
Yeah.
So like you're kind of in a position where you're still fighting your own battles, but you still want to take on someone else's.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a really long time since you've had someone that has really reciprocated that back.
Mhm.
So do we want to do that then? Just one, we give off one, and then you give off one, and then I'll give off one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more or less what I was thinking. So for you, I see of someone who is you do your best to see people as a whole, if that makes sense. Trying to understand all these different facets of them. And I feel like you never judge them when you see the ugly moments. Um, you're quick to forgive. Um, but also you've kind of set that boundary of like, you know, not that you have a guard up, but it's like, I see this side of you, and if this continues, you know, I'm going to set the limit of how much access I give you to me.
By the gods,
Because maybe in the past,
can this be real?
you've kind of just let people in, and that's hurt you. It's not hasn't turned you bitter, but more of just there's a limit. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
There is nothing you can put in my way to stop me. I will save my family.
This is phase 2.
Yeah. Huh?
Keep circle pressed to hug your family. Hugging your family will transfer your life into them.
Family, I love you.
Don't turn your back on family. Ain't that right, Biz?
Family. It's been a long day without you, my friend. Okay.
I think I want to speak on the seeing someone as a whole.
Okay.
Um, I think like where that stems from for me is like I think people were either quick to categorize me or they didn't know how to, so they just left me. And you know, you could create these different barriers and these different categories for yourself, but that's ultimately just lumping you in to someone else in that perspective. So you could fit into a multitude of categories. But the thing is that that doesn't really reveal the you, the singular.
Right.
And I'm going to say that, like, what got that final part, that final stage for me at 14 was like seeing enough people select me. Like, they didn't select the category that I just happened to fall into. They didn't see like this interest that like I guess you're included in this. Like, people sought out me, and there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities that I had really experienced that. Sometimes I was like, I kind of just had to be there, and you just kind of had to deal with it.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry
Yeah.
that this is how it is for you. But in reality, I could just be here.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to give other people that chance.
What?
Were you pressing other buttons, or
No!
that just happened?
He just fell over the edge.
Well, he didn't hug his family enough.
It was over. I won.
Oh,
You. Games hate me. Games hate me. There was no reason for that to happen. That shouldn't have happened. You're having a moment. You're opening up, and it just decides like, no, this is gonna stop right now.
as I was saying.
Yeah.
When I got that feeling that people were choosing me, then I felt like I was worthy of being chosen. And I wanted to feed into that. But it wasn't like a means of people pleasing, because as you said, like I have my own limits to that. But
No.
why?
Now I'm just suddenly falling over.
Is there like some sort of force that's like pushing you out?
No. Not that I can tell.
Because I don't know why, but it feels like it's making space for something, and it's just like, there you go.
Yeah.
But from the looks of it, it just seems like it's willing.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, time for me to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to like figure out like what that does for other people, and people don't react to it in the same way that I did, because I guess to them like that importance level wasn't as high as it was for me. But I know that if I give up on that search, then ultimately I'm kind of hurting others in the long run by not giving them that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that it falls on me, but there is a level of control that I can have. I don't want to start hugging your family.
No, they're fine. Yeah, they're a health bar. They're fine.
Well, I'm kind of saying that as like kind of keep you centered. So now, like, now we're here, right? Like, streaming.
Yeah.
And now we're in a position where we can kind of reach out to as many folk as possible.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I guess that's where this feeling is like, why that existed for me to have this idea versus, someone like yourself or like Jay.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have that need.
Yeah.
So it didn't really have to be filled in that same way. But I think kind of in a way that like this is an extra way to feel that.
Right.
So feeling selected, feeling
Oh,
okay,
n-
okay,
now
okay,
he's paused.
okay, okay. And he's you could die in a cussy.
Yeah.
And why like sure I could value the number of views and I can value the money that it can get you if you get successful from doing this, but it was never really about that. It was just about this measure of like stretching myself out, not like Kratos is right now, but stretching myself out to help others that like, okay, if we have this interest in this, like I'm here, you know, can we have that common ground? Or if we don't, then can we develop something else? So what's important
The battle was not
is that
the gods, it seemed, had a final gift for Kratos.
I want you to feel seen when you're here.
I still have allies in this areas.
Which is why, you know, any number of followers is special. And I think I kind of felt that when making things and pushing stuff out that really wasn't going anywhere as far as like getting us the vocal, the active community for a while by just having more eyeballs witness us.
Kratos,
The end.
Why the heck was that one so easy?
in your time of greatest need.
I haven't forgotten, Ares. I remember how you saved me.
That was very anticlimactic.
I was trying to make you a great warrior.
You succeeded. You should have gone for that.
Kratos had done the impossible,
So yeah, I just kind of felt like
defeating a god.
if I cherish the amount of people that are here, then the sheer amount doesn't really affect me. But as long as you know we have a sense of people that want to reach out to us, you know, figure us out
The city had been saved and would thrive again.
like that, I want to jump on the opportunity for.
The
And it's like, and I can reach out as much as I can, but
for as he sought to
I think the
rebuild
person that I'm seeking out for has to initiate that,
the truth
and
was revealed.
that percentage is not very high. Much.
Dana, rid me of the memories that haunt me still.
You have done well, Kratos. Though we mourn the death of our brother, the gods are indebted to you. We promised your sins would be forgiven, and so they are. But we never promised to take away your nightmares. No man, no god could ever forget the terrible deeds you have done.
In the end, knowing the visions
That
of
not
his
messed
past would never leave him, Kratos made his way to the bluffs overlooking the Aegean Sea.
The gods of Olympus have abandoned me. Now there is no
And Kratos cast himself from the highest mountain in all of Greece. After 10 years of suffering, 10 years of endless nightmares, it would finally come to an end. Death would be his escape from madness. The fate of Kratos was not as it seemed. The gods had other plans. Born aloft like a feather, Kratos found himself risen from the sea and placed on solid earth.
You will not die this day, Kratos. The gods cannot allow one who has performed such service to perish by his own hand. Ares' tactics were brutal. His path of destruction had to be stopped. But now there is an
I
empty
won that
throne
boss fight in
in
less than 30 minutes.
and a new god
Yeah.
of war is needed. Take these
It turns out
steps,
the
Kratos.
fight wasn't even the hardest
They
part.
lead to your ultimate reward.
It was the platforming to get to it.
Yay!
Prior to Athena's blade.
They're golden.
Good for you.
Gotta be golden. Mount Olympus.
So what else is there to do?
I have to go sit on the throne.
You're finally free of your servitude to this insane war god. You gaze upon the bones of your defeated foe. This is the throne of the god of war. Take your rightful place upon it. Ain't no way Ares sat there.
Done.
That would fall. Throughout the rest of time, whenever men go forth to battle for good cause or for evil, they did so under the watchful eye of the man who had defeated the god. They were driven forward by Kratos, the mortal who had become the new god of war.
Congratulations, you have conquered God of War. Now attempt God mode.
God, no.
How do you feel, Coach?
I feel like this just stopped happening.
Yeah? Yeah.
But
You're saying you wanted to kind of create this platform to reach out to others, and it takes them to kind of do their part.
yeah, it's the final stage of that.
Mhm.
Um,
You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it.
yeah, but I don't want to call people horses
Yeah.
because it's. I don't think it comes from a sense of stubbornness.
Yeah.
I think it just comes from a sense of like.
Uncertainty.
There's that. There's a lot of distrust, and it kind of just goes back to all right, well, earning my keep. My responsibility as far as like a source of entertainment and like attention span and stuff like that is rented. So do I pay my rent, if you will? So this space of like where we are, like, does that feel earned? Does that feel like it's deserved to be here? And I think now after a year, I can say for certain that it does.
Mhm.
Because I thought that something would fizzle out to the point where we couldn't get anything going. And for a time, they did legitimately feel that way. Because it literally was that way. I think those early stages were tough, but then we just had a surge up in numbers, but the interactions were still like few and far between, and that's not how I wanted it to be. So then my vision of this had to adapt with what was available to me, and now like tomorrow is going to be a full year of this, and I still have the same like desire to take it to where I want it to go, but there's been a lot of detours. There's been a lot of paths that had to have changed to make it still feasible, and those roads get more and more difficult because it involves a lot more time. But I got time.
Yeah.
I mean, like the interest certainly never went away. Kratos will return in Avengers Doomsday or whatever. So, with all that out of the way, right? What is our our recap? I didn't think we'd get this far this quickly.
Well, we had a good discussion tonight. The different parts of identity, our own struggles with identity, what we see in one another, and I hope you guys take something from this. I hope you guys take this to heart. I hope you, I hope you catch this before it disappears from our feed, and come and enjoy us in different conversations where we're not so serious and we're having a good time. We're laughing. Not to say that this wasn't a good time, but we like to have fun with this and not be so. What's the word I'm looking for? Solemn.
Okay.
So, I hope you guys come back. I hope you enjoy the other games we play. And with that in mind, lock your doors, lock the windows, travel safe, and don't die.
We shall see you tomorrow with Date Everything.
Get everything.
What's
Start
up?
us all.
It's such a wild concept to go from God of War to Date Everything, but only we can pull it off, right?